University of Miami against the Huskies of the University of Connecticut. Big East basketball is brought to you by US Air. Every time we fly, everything we do, US Air begins with you. By Nationwide Insurance. Check the yellow pages for the nationwide agent nearest you. By Right Guard Sports Stick. Anything less would be uncivilized. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Coming up tonight from Storrs, Connecticut, it's the second Big East meeting of the year between the Hurricanes and the Huskies. A warm welcome to Gampel Pavilion. Along with Dom Perno, I'm John Sanders. You know, if somebody told you before the season began that UConn and Miami would be tied in the standings after 11 games, you probably would have told them to see a doctor.
That's right. No one gave Miami a whole lot of respect the first part of the year, but I'll tell you, they respect them now, John.
First meeting between these two teams was January the 26th. It was quite a night for Constantine Popa and the Hurricanes.
Constantine did it the whole game, inside, outside. He was really the main guy.
And he hit one of the biggest baskets of the week when he helped lead Miami past Boston College.
This was certainly a great move. He can go both ways, but the right-handed hook did it all that night.
You look back over the last 4 games, it was that start against UConn, a career high that has really developed him. He's not scored below 20 points in any game since then. Meanwhile, for the Huskies, they ended a 4-game losing streak with a victory over Villanova, and you would expect the big guys, Scotty Burrell and Donyell Marshall, to step it up. But how about somebody like Donnie Marshall tonight?
Donnie Marshall is a key ingredient for the UConn team tonight. He's not only scoring better, but he provides them with enthusiasm, John. His motor is always going.
And he triggered them to that victory over Villanova, only the second time this year that the Huskies have shot over 50% in a game. We have Miami and UConn coming up from Storrs. We'll be back to Gampel Pavilion and meet the starters for both of these teams after this word. It comes from your local Big East station.
Big happenings at UConn. On Saturday, February 20th at 3 o'clock p.m., the UConn Huskies women's basketball team will host defending national champion Stanford in the Harry A. Gamble Pavilion at the University of Connecticut in Storrs. Tickets are going fast, so make your plans now to join the Huskies as they challenge the Cardinals of Stanford at 3 o'clock p.m. Saturday, February 20th. Just call the UConn Athletic Ticket Office at 486-2724 for more information. And go Huskies!
It was right here in Gampel Pavilion on January 2nd, 1992 that Miami played its very first Big East Conference basketball game. Now for tonight's Nationwide Insurance starting lineups, check the yellow pages for the Nationwide agent nearest you, who just might be Joel Angelovic of Monroe, Connecticut. Let's go to the public address announcer here in Storrs, Roger Baker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Big East College basketball here at the Harry A. Gamble Pavilion on the University of Connecticut campus. Tonight, your University of Connecticut Huskies meet the Hurricanes of Miami. Here are the starting lineups. For Miami, a 6'3" senior from Miami, Florida, number 11, Trevor Burton. For Connecticut, a 6'3" sophomore from Los Angeles, California, number 12, Kevin Ollie. For Miami, a 6'6" sophomore from St. Petersburg, Florida, number 32, Pat Lawrence. For Connecticut, a 6'6" redshirt freshman from Jacksonville, Florida, number 23, Rudy Johnson. For Miami, a 7'3" sophomore from Bucharest, Romania, number 33, Constantine Popa. For Connecticut, a 6'6" sophomore from Federal Way, Washington, number 33, Donnie Marshall. For Miami, a 5'11" sophomore from Fredericksburg, Virginia, number 12, Michael Gardner. For Connecticut, a 6'9" sophomore from Reading, Pennsylvania, number 42, Donyell Marshall. For Miami, a 6'5" freshman from Miami, Florida, number 21, Steve Edwards. And for Connecticut, a 6'7" senior from Hamden, Connecticut, number 24, co-captain Scott Burrell. The head coaches for Miami, Leonard Hamilton, and for Connecticut, in his 7th year at Storrs, Jim Calhoun.
You have met the players, you've seen the coaches. We are set for basketball. The opening tip will follow after this word from your local Big East station. When you compare the two teams, a couple of things jump out at you. The three-point shooting of Miami, obviously, and the fact that the Canes have had trouble on the boards.
Exactly. Of course, that rebounding problem was earlier in the year, John, when they were playing not as well as they have currently.
All 5 of the Miami victories in the Big East have come at home. They are yet to win a game away from Miami Arena. Coach Leonard Hamilton says until we do, we won't have any Big East respect. There's Constantine Popa. He'll be the target of UConn's affections tonight. The Huskies lead this series as they meet for the 5th time. Joe Mingle, the referee, Rich Sanfilippo and Mark Destrola are the 2 umpires. And in orange, the Hurricanes from Miami control the opening tip, and they are on a bit of a roll. They've got a certain confidence level, Dom, that they have not had before.
They certainly are. They're playing with good momentum. Right now, Connecticut man-to-man D, and right away going into the big guy.
Popa does not get the roll. Danielle Marshall around Burton with a rebound.
Well, Connecticut did what it wanted to do. They had some hands in Popa's face. They made the shot difficult, and it paid off.
Along the baseline, a beautiful feed inside to Scott Burrell from Danielle Marshall.
Marshall facing the basket does an awful lot of good things. That time saw Scott low, and he slammed the throw.
Pat Lawrence brings it back out to Edwards. Burton in the corner. Runs it into Popa. Along the baseline, you can't stop him down there.
Once he gets the ball in that area, he is so tough. Of course, we talked about him being able to utilize either hand.
Here is Marshall from straight away. Donnie Marshall coming off the 16-point effort against Villanova, and right back at him come the Hurricanes.
Donnie Marshall is the one guy that can give Connecticut a spark. He plays with enthusiasm all the time.
2 misses so far by Popa from outside. Here comes Ollie. Brings it back to Johnson. Tremendous athletes on this team. Inside, Donnie Marshall over Popa.
That's a heck of a move. A 6'7" guy going into right at the 7'3" guy. Actually, John, sometimes that might be the best thing to do. Go right at the big man.
Gardner pulls up, misses the jump shot. Back comes Danielle Marshall. He's got Johnson and Burrell on the wings. This is Johnson, too strong. Knocked out of bounds by Burrell. It belongs to Miami. Leonard Hamilton in his 3rd year at the helm after 4 years at Oklahoma State.
Len's team has played extremely well. Obviously, at home, they've been devastating. They need a win. They got to call timeout.
So the pressure, and we expected to see UConn extend that pressure. They have done it. They forced the timeout. It's UConn by 4. 18-13 to go in the half.
You can see the record of Miami at home. They've been excellent, of course, on the road. Another story. Not at all. 0-5 versus Big East on the road. They've had their problems, obviously, and the way they've started here, it's been kind of slow. Connecticut extending their pressure, and this is what they wanted to do tonight.
We expected to see that, as we mentioned, that they would extend the pressure. We thought we might see him try to front Popa some. Edwards moves inside the arc, goes to the baseline, swings it back outside. They love to do this inside-outside. When you've got a finisher like Popa, you can do it.
Exactly. That time, great ball movement. Brought it outside and then down low to the big man, Popa.
And I think that's a good example of how much confidence they have gained in Constantine Popa. Before, they would have taken the outside shot. Instead, now they go inside. Here's Burrell for 3. Ollie has the long rebound. Marshall, that's a 2 that misses. Back the other way now comes Michael Gardner.
Well, the difference, John, in this Miami club right now is the confidence level that they have. Earlier in the season, if they got behind, they were really in trouble. Now, they play with great confidence. They're executing so much better than they did before.
Foul on the way in. Foul is going to go against Johnson. Rudy picks up his first. That's the first foul we've had in the game. We've played almost 3 minutes. Johnson comes to the bench. Brian Fair, number 31, checks in. Brian averaging over 12 points a ball game.
Well, Bryant had been starting prior to the game with Villanova. While he could give him a spark, he's an excellent outside shooter, but Jimmy had to change the chemistry somewhat.
Popa has it taken away, just held on to it too long. Fair gives it up to Burrell.
Great unselfishness by Brian Fair. Gives it to Burrell, going to the hole strong.
Edwards back for Miami. It's 8-4. The Huskies have matched their biggest lead of the first half. Scoop shot on a beautiful drive by Edwards is good.
What happens, John, when you key on the big fella Popa inside, you could give lanes to their outside three, in particular Edwards, Gardner, and Burton.
Definitely a lane there. 8-6, 16.5 minutes remaining in the opening half. A year ago, in the first Big East game ever, the Huskies defeated Miami by 20. Here comes Donnie Marshall. Popa got a piece of that one and winds up with it. With 2 more blocked shots, Popa will be #1 all-time in Miami history. Keep in mind, this is only the midpoint of his sophomore year.
Yeah, I think he's going to take care of that record.
Here comes Burton. Cut off by Burrell, and another steal for the 3rd best in the Big East in steals. He didn't get the call as he tried to deflect it off the leg, but he's so quick and so good at stealing the ball.
He's a great athlete. If you tempt him with the basketball, you're going to pay a price. That time, almost a great play by Scotty Burrell.
Jim Calhoun working the sidelines and the officials right now. And Burrell along the bench.
What Miami likes to do is run a 3-man weave with their 3 guards or look for the 3. They love that shot also.
Donyell Marshall tracks it down. Johnson coming on to replace Burrell. They're looking at Scott's left leg. Fair misses badly, and coming over the back to pick up his 2nd foul is Johnson. Rudy Johnson, by far the fastest player on the team, and you will see Scott Burrell. You got a quick peek of Scott as he limps to the end of the UConn bench, so we will definitely keep an eye on that. He missed a couple of games earlier this year with some injury problems.
He has, certainly. He's had some nagging groin injuries and slight ankle problem. There, it looks as if it's his knee.
Here comes Edwards around Marshall. Pat Lawrence in the lane. Here comes Trevor Burton. Cut off and pulls up for the jumper. Donnie Marshall in quite a battle wins it with Pat Lawrence.
Oh, we talked about the enthusiasm that Donnie provides his team. That time, great hustle.
We've played over 4.5 minutes. Donyell is cut off. Travis Knight is in the ballgame. We expected to see more of him.
Well, Jimmy said he would use Knight and Willingham a little more because they have more size. Going at Popa again.
Marshall comes up with a loose ball. Fair for 3. Good. Fair gets the 3-pointer. He's only a 32% shooter, and that's just about what the team is. They are 10 points lower in 3-point shooting than Miami.
Well, Miami will look for the 3. We saw it earlier in the game. If they don't have something good down low, they'll pop it out to the open man on the wing.
The Huskies are 1 out of 3 in 3-pointers. Miami's attempted only 1 so far. Look for that to change. Here comes Edwards. Lost it, got it back, finds Burton.
Connecticut doing a nice job with their interior D. Travis Knight doing a nice job defending Popa.
And Popa gets the feed from Pat Lawrence. 3 baskets for Popa. He leads the scoring for Miami. It's 11-8.
Knight helped out that time, but no one switched over. Popa gets the easy dunk.
Edwards reaches in and picks up the foul for Steve, his first.
Stevie Edwards, Miami senior high, Mr. Basketball, excellent basketball player. Here you see Popa. If you try to cheat and help out, Popa's got to be played. Was not. Second slam of the evening.
That is the first team foul of the game on Miami. Donnie Marshall leaves the lineup now as Eric Hayward from Alexandria, Louisiana, checks into the lineup. And this is definitely not just a Connecticut team. They come from all over.
Not at all.
Marshall gets it somehow.
An errant pass, but Donyell Marshall, right place at the right time. He's done that consistently this season. That's why he's Connecticut's leading scorer.
Averaging 18 a game. That is his first basket. We're inside 14 minutes, along with Dom Perno. I'm John Sanders at Gampel Pavilion on a snowy night in southern New England.
So certainly the weather conditions are not conducive to the type that Miami is used to.
This is a three. Too strong, and Danielle Marshall will lead the breakout. Ollie with Fair on the wing. Ollie takes it in. Has it blocked by Anthony Lawrence, but it'll be a basket for Fair.
Well, that's not a good play by Anthony Lawrence. That ball was not going in. It was coming off there, but good call by the official. Was a goaltending call.
Miami now down by 7. This is the largest lead of the first half for the Huskies.
Danielle Marshall gets the ball in the right place. That time got it to the middle to Ollie, who ended up getting the basket for UConn.
Danielle Marshall has 5 of the 7 Connecticut rebounds in the game. Steve Edwards straight away spins the 3, and Marshall another rebound. That's 6. Ollie feeds Danielle, who bangs it in.
Len Hamilton wanted to charge. Danielle really playing both ends of the floor, filling the lane. That time, nice feed, good dish to Danielle, and gives the Huskies a 17-8 lead.
Biggest so far in the first half. 12:45 remaining. And the fans at Gamble Pavilion, of the first 28 games played here, 27 were sellouts. This is the 29th game played in this arena. A 6-0 Husky run right now, and Miami has to try to answer.
Miami likes to clear the floor for their guards out front, see if they catch an opening in the middle or a dish to a big guy.
Out of bounds. It is Miami basketball. Rudy Johnson will check back in, along with Jake Morton for Miami, and Constantine Popa returns as well, as Leonard Hamilton now works his bench, and he's going to add some more size because he brings in the freshman Lorenzo Pearson as well. So he's got his 2 big guys on the court.
Pearson has given him good minutes. He comes in, he's really an aggressive rebounder, good size.
Burton in the lane with a nice jumper. First basket for Burton, who averages 14 a game in the Big East. 17-10, that cuts off a 6-0 Husky run.
Miami will stay man-to-man throughout, John. Occasionally go to a little zone, but they play a good, tough man-to-man D.
Here comes Johnson into the lane. Up, misses the shot. Kick is good by Johnson.
Well, you talked about his quickness. That time, Rudy Johnson gets to the missed shot, finishes it off.
11:49 in the half. It's 19-10. The Huskies have led throughout. Deflected out of bounds. Miami basketball with 32 seconds on the shot clock. And back is Scott Burrell, and also checking into the lineup is Covington Cormier. We have a timeout down on the court with 11:40 to play. UConn by 9. More after a word from our local station. Dick Morton right now out in front for the Hurricanes. Looks to Michael Gardner. This is Pearson, the freshman. Morton loves to shoot the 3, and he will not hesitate.
Not at all. If it's there, he's going to take it.
Occasionally, if it's not there, he takes it. Just under 11 minutes remaining. Good defensive set this time for UConn. Morton using the glass too strong. Pearson had it. They scramble for it. Here is Fair with a foul called before the shot. The foul is on Morton, who was trying to cut off the junior college transfer, Covington Cormier.
Good foul by Morton, as it turns out, because Connecticut had the answers and they had the break going.
Johnson back to the bench for UConn for Miami. Pat Lawrence has checked back in. Constantine Popa has not committed a foul, and that's been a big problem for him at times, Dom.
He can't get him to foul, exactly, and most teams would like to get him into foul trouble if they can.
They call it on Pat Lawrence, I believe. Well, you might not think so, and of course it depends on whether or not the player is on your team, but the officials are aware of the big guys and want to keep them in the game and want to let them play defense. But one of Constantine Popa's problems this year is silly fouls, reach around fouls, reach over fouls that he doesn't need to make.
Not at all, and of course he does stand out, John. He's a guy that can, you know, you can't hide Constantine. He's there, but he does have a tendency to cause the foolish foul. They need him in the ballgame all the time.
The Huskies have done an excellent job in foul shooting. They're at about 73% on the year.
And Scott Burrell, one of their best foul shooters, and he's been a good spark for them. He was out a couple of games with injuries, but his return has certainly given the Huskies a lift. And right now they're moving well, doing a lot of good things.
Biggest lead in the first half. It's 21-10. We've got a foul inside. I think it's on Knight, who was battling Konstantin Popa.
They're not going to give Popa the room he had earlier, and you see Travis Knight trying to pick up the charge, but he's really guarding him closely, and they're trying to front him if they can. That time he did get by, just a little grab, and they're obviously watching the inside play, in particular when you're guarding Popa.
Knight really pushing him that time. Of course, you have to think that UConn has some fouls to give there if they need to.
Exactly. They got Knight, they got Willingham on the bench also, another big man.
And there's another foul on Knight. No question about it. Travis Knight, the freshman, is doing everything he can to body him out of his shooting range.
Talking to Glenn Miller earlier in the game, he said that they were going to push him and push him out of that inside spot where he's been doing an awful lot of damage.
That will bring on Nantambu Willingham for the first time. Tonight, the freshman picks up a couple of quick fouls. They go to the sophomore from Atlanta, Willingham on. 10:15 to play in the half. It's 21-10.
Now, this is the start Connecticut wanted. They wanted to provide some good outside pressure. Bang Popa has certainly not been involved as he has in prior games. So their game plan is working very well.
Huge rebounding edge so far. Most of it courtesy Danielle Marshall. It's 10-3 UConn. Edwards, Michael Gardner. This is a much more aggressive defense than we saw in the first meeting between these two teams. They have really extended putting pressure on the perimeter.
Well, Miami shooting 42%. You see in Len Hamilton not happy with the play of his Miami team, but Connecticut is really, you can see the banging underneath by Willingham on Pope. He's going to have to earn everything he receives tonight.
Cormier brings it up. Burrell. Did he push off? It's on Edwards. Could have gone either way.
Might have been an offensive foul. Official right on the call.
Instead, the freshman from Miami, Steve Edwards, picks up his second personal foul. 4 team fouls so far on Miami, 5 on the Huskies of UConn. Danielle Marshall for 3. Rattles out. Burrell on the weak side has it knocked out of bounds by Edwards.
Scott Burrell, 13 rebounds against Villanova in that 20-point victory. He's key for them, in particular on both boards.
Inbound pass is almost stolen by Miami. Well, you're trying to make that short little bounce pass in that area, you're going to get in trouble.
A lot of hands, a lot of bodies.
Morton trying to help out on Danielle Marshall. Here comes Willingham. He got Pope in the air and gets a foul. Does not get the basket, but he does get the foul.
Well, John, you talked about Popa getting into foul trouble, and that is the way to draw the foul on Popa. Give him the pump fake, and he usually goes for it, and once he leaves his feet, it's all over. Willingham inside. Good move here. Nice pump fake. Draws Popa up, and there's no defense on that particular move.
Willingham goes to the line, but this is only his second trip to the stripe in the Big East. He's now 1 for 2.
Well, I think Connecticut's game plan is to go at Konstantin Pope inside. They've been getting the ball inside and then taking it right to him. And he's got a couple of fouls on him right now.
It is still Miami basketball. The official says that Kevin Ollie from Los Angeles, the sophomore, touched it last.
Well, there's no doubt that this full court pressure, it's man-to-man right here, is causing Miami a lot of problems.
This is the second 6-0 run in the first half by the Huskies. They are simply not letting Miami play any kind of half-court offense.
Well, what's interesting, down at Miami, Miami came at the Huskies hard, right at them, and Connecticut's giving them a little dose of their own defense right now.
13-point lead. Popa has it batted away. But inside, Pat Lawrence is able to get it up and in.
Nice strong move by Pat Lawrence, just a sophomore. His game is inside. Excellent rebounder, strong to the hole.
Burrell. That's a three. Not sure the officials saw it at first, but they did call it a three.
A nice smooth shot, didn't hesitate, went right at it, knew he had the room.
26-12. The Canes in trouble here in the first half. And they throw it away. But inside, away from the basketball, we have another foul on one of the big people for UConn as Willingham picks up his first.
Oh, you talk about Jimmy has 10 fouls to waste here on Travis Knight and Willingham. They're battling the big guy inside. A foul, but I'll tell you what, he'll take that because Popa's having a lot of problems in the lane.
The only three-pointers so far in the first half have come from Connecticut. The Canes are 0 for 3. There's the sweeping hook attempt, and it's batted away by Burrell. Ollie blocked by Popa. And from behind, it's knocked out of bounds by Brian Fair. 7:53 remaining to be played in the first half. It's 26-12 UConn. The Huskies have their biggest lead of the half. To become the all-time leading shot blocker. That one block ties him with the all-time Miami record. His next one will be the king of the hill. But he's getting all kinds of attention tonight, which is to be expected. Leonard Hamilton said, hey, they're not going to let him just go out there anymore.
Well, he's been in the 20s past 4 Big East games, and it's been written in the newspapers. He's getting all kinds of headlines, and Connecticut right now trying to take him out of his game.
Gardner in the lane for a jumper that nestles in the net. Michael Gardner gets his first basket.
A nice hoop by Michael Gardner that time, but nothing has been easy for Miami tonight.
Popa does not come out on Willingham when he moves out to the perimeter. Danielle Marshall along the baseline. Ollie just beyond the foul line. Misses badly. Tracked down by Johnson. Here comes Ollie again. Popa with a rejection, and he's now the all-time leading shot blocker in Miami basketball history.
Well, he's going to get a bundle of those, of course. Ollie, they're not playing at all. He's going to have to take that shot.
Steal by Miami. Overall, he's number 7 in the nation if you include the non-conference games. Edwards hits the deck after attempting the three. Burrell the rebound. He's got Willingham and Marshall ahead. Pulls up for the three. Bingo.
He's got it. Scott Burrell fields it tonight. His defense has really projected his own.
Biggest lead of the half. It's 15, and Scott Burrell with his second three-pointer and a dozen so far in the first half. All three-pointers that have been made so far in the half belong to the Huskies. Miami is yet to get on track in that category. Burton the runner, won't go. Burrell hits the boards.
Scott Burrell doing it at both ends, but the Connecticut defense is the name of the game tonight.
Marshall a miss. Michael Gardner starts back. He's got Edwards trailing as he spins, gives it up to Edwards, but a foul is called on Kevin Ollie.
Well, Michael Gardner that time very fortunate because when he turned right into the defensive player, looked as if it might have been a travel.
Anthony Lawrence is set to return for Miami. So is Jake Morton and Lorenzo Pearson. Morton will have to wait until Gardner shoots the foul shots as Jim Calhoun has a little discussion with Rich Sanfilippo.
Jimmy has to feel pretty good, however, the way his team has come out to play defense. They're going right at Popa defensively. They've done a good job. With that type of defense, John, wears the big guy down. He's not big. He's big, but he doesn't have an awful lot of body weight to him. And they're really banging him inside. It's been a problem for Miami.
Cormier comes back the other way. That's the first free throw attempt of the night for Miami. Here comes Johnson to the lane. What a drive. Wow.
Rudy Johnson comes into this game known as a slasher with great speed, and at that time he demonstrated it.
He's the fastest player on the team. In fact, the track coach here would like to see him on that team. Three-pointer and the air ball. I think it might have been partially blocked.
There was some defense there.
Cormier, the left-hander, pulls up and hits the basket.
Well, right now, Connecticut has it going. They've done it with their D, which has led to good offensive opportunities.
5:20 to play in the half. 33-14. A foul on the way in. Gardner trying to get some penetration going. He was cut off and fouled as he went to the basket.
John, when you see three people leaning to the basketball, you know your defense is moving properly. That time, found the hole, but he also found three defenders from Connecticut.
Lonnie Marshall comes back on. Johnson leaves. Knight returns. Willingham, who has just picked up his second foul, goes to the bench. Knight also has 2 fouls. It's 33-14. Gardner back to the line again. Missed his first chance, the only one the Canes have had at the foul line tonight. It'll be interesting to see how Miami handles this and whether or not, Dom, they can recover from this early near KO by UConn.
Well, in all of the Big East victories, John, they've been right there. They've either had the lead or right close to it. Here they're down considerably, and it will be interesting how they react here. They've not had good three-point opportunities. The inside action has been bumping Popa, taking away his strengths.
Cormier comes back. Marshall almost bumped out of bounds, but the left-handed bank shot is good by Cormier.
Connecticut just beating Miami down the floor and making them pay the price. Nice pass by Donyell Marshall.
There's another three that won't go, and Miami is still empty. Pearson with a follow. Lawrence missed a tip. Donyell Marshall with a rebound, and he is fouled. Marshall and Anthony Lawrence do a little bit of jawing.
And Jim Calhoun comes off the bench to get Donyell because he doesn't need Donyell in any jams. He needs him on the floor.
That's the first foul of the game on Lawrence. That is the 6th team foul. It is not a shooting foul as Pat comes in to replace his brother Anthony Lawrence. Just a little less than 5 minutes remaining to be played in the first half, and it's been all UConn, 35-16 right now.
Well, they've done it both ends of the floor, and their game plan has been to bump Popa, which they have, utilizing Travis Knight and Willingham down low, and their D has been exceptional.
Miami battling for the steal. Possession arrow will keep it in the hands of the Huskies. On our Ford scoreboard, Providence, look at that, with an 11-point lead as they near the midway point of the opening half. And St. John's, Boston College, the battle tonight. A 9-point difference so far in the first half.
Well, St. John very tough at Alumni Hall, John.
At times, some people think they're unbeatable there. They haven't lost very many.
They have, and certainly are a strong team.
Here's Knight from outside. Yes. Technical foul has been called, I believe, on Scott Burrell.
I think Scott may have said something to warrant that technical, but Travis Knight sticked a great foul line jump shot. Pope was not going to extend on the big guy, and he finished it off, and then Burrell was called for the tee.
The Huskies have had it all their way, up-tempo. Points off the break, 10-0 UConn. The foul, now it's a technical foul on Burrell, but it also goes as a personal foul,
exactly.
So it's number 2.
New rule this year. What Jimmy Calhoun, he don't want any change in this tempo. He likes the momentum, the way it's going. He likes their D. He likes the way they're pushing the ball up. You don't want to stop that.
One out of 2 is all Morton can cash in.
Miami ball.
The Hurricanes will have the ball. Gardner was held on the way in.
Miami likes to isolate out front. That time Gardner took Cup Cormier to the basket, drawing the foul, but they're fouling a few times, Connecticut, but they're not giving anything easy.
Cormier picks up his first foul, and checking back in is Kevin Ollie to replace him. It was expected to be the big battle. Who would be the point guard? The junior college transfer or the returning sophomore from Los Angeles? For the most part, it's been Kevin Ollie.
Well, Kevin had solidified himself, I think, in that position. The past 4 or 5 games, he's been very solid. He's running the team. His leadership has shown, in particular, against Villanova in their 20-point victory.
Gardner missed his first, but Michael has made his last 3 at the line, looking for point number 6, and he gets it. So 4 out of 5 for him at the line. 37-19. The lead has been as many as 22 here in the first half. Tough enough to win on the road. It's even tougher to fall behind by 20 in the first half and try to come back and win on the road.
It certainly is. This arena is very tough. Connecticut plays well here, obviously, and
the reach-in foul is on Kevin Ollie. Constantine Popa had wrapped his long arms around the ball. Ollie tried to get it back. You know, we were talking a little bit to Jim Calhoun before the game, and he said anybody, the so-called experts who tries to figure out college basketball right now has no chance.
None at all. You can't figure. And I think one of the reasons, John, is that there's parity throughout the country. Good players are going to a lot of different schools, and it's been demonstrated on the success of so many different programs.
Constantine Popa with 7 points. He has a couple of blocks. Last Saturday in the Syracuse game, he threw a little changeup. He got up to the point where he had the ball at the top, and he hesitated and drew one of his teammates into the lane and turned the ball over.
And of course, the way he's been playing, who's to question Constantine?
Danielle Marshall out in front. Got Pat Lawrence on him. This is Ollie. Gardner shades him.
What Jimmy Calhoun liked about his victory the other night is the extra pass, John. It wasn't just one pass and up.
Riding him on the way in is Jake Morton. And that's one of the fouls that some of the coaches in the league do not like, because it's a guard against guard foul. I had one coach say, well, you let the big men lean on each other inside. Why can't you allow the guards to do a little of that?
I know. I think the problem is, of course, you're out front. You're usually in the sight of 1 or 2 officials. Down low, you can get away with some of the bumping.
Fair at the line has been an excellent foul shooter. He's 15 for 19 in the Big East. And Brian, who has a 3 tonight, now has 6 points in the game. 38-20. UConn has never trailed. Donnie Marshall. In their effort to screen him away from the ball, Miami touched it last. So we have a timeout with 3:41 left in the half. It's been a half that has been dominated so far by the Huskies. They lead by 18. 38-20 is the score with 3:41 left in the half. This copyrighted telecast is produced by authority of the Big East Conference and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Big East Conference is prohibited. 60% field goal shooting so far, and a huge rebounding edge for the Huskies. They've simply dominated just about every stat so far tonight, Tom.
Well, you shoot as well as they are, and the way they're rebounding, you're going to have an 18-point lead, but they've come to play.
Tip in by Knight. Somehow Travis Knight got in there and scored.
Well, they like the way he's been playing of late, and he's come to play. He's been very aggressive on Pope inside. He can shoot the little 15-footer, and that time a great tip in.
One of the 5 former state players of the year on this roster. His state, Utah. He's from Sandy, Utah. Here's Gardner outside for 3. Beautiful job that time by Fair. Feeds Ollie up off the glass. In is good.
Extra effort by Connecticut. They're coming up with every loose ball. They're finding the open people. That time, Brian Fair, who hasn't started, found the open man and finished it off. Kevin Ollie.
42-20 with 2:40 remaining in the half. An explosion by the Huskies. They know that every game is critical for their postseason hopes. This is a team that was ranked in the top 15 in almost every preseason poll in the country. Danielle Marshall's alone at the other end. Reverses and stops.
Again, and Lenny Hamilton's going to need a timeout right here.
He will take his second timeout of the first half. They are on their feet in Gampel Pavilion. All 8,240 or so. It is 44-20. It has been all UConn in the first half.
And one the ingredient, they're hitting the board so well. You see Travis Knight, Miami not getting back on D, and you're going to pay a price when the big guy, Danielle, finishes it off.
Biggest lead of the half, and it was a thing of beauty. The third basket for Donyell Marshall as he reverses and stuffs it home. Marshall, also a former player of the year from Pennsylvania. We mentioned Knight from Utah, Scott Burrell from right here in the state of Connecticut, Fair from Arizona, Rudy Johnson from Florida. Some of the players of the year who've made their way to Storrs, Connecticut. Let's check the Ford scoreboard and find out what else is happening on another big Saturday night of Big East basketball. Villanova and the Hall, and right now the Cats have clawed their way in front.
And the Hall, they've had it their way at Villanova of late. Villanova desperately needs W's.
Well, the Pitt Panthers, another quality win for them this afternoon as they move ever closer to nailing down an NCAA spot.
They've got a couple of great wins. This win big on the road, the Big Ten, and of course their UCLA win earlier in the year was key also for them.
Again, the pressure. Knight bats it away. The Huskies have it. Here's Cormier. Between his legs, spins and keeps it. Everything going right. I think we've got a foul the other way, probably on Knight. That'll be his third of the first half.
Well, I'll tell you, that is not a bad foul. Travis Knight all over the boards. Jimmy Calhoun has to be happy with the play of his 7-foot freshman.
Knight will sit down. Hayward takes his spot in the lineup, but an excellent effort in the first half.
Well, Willingham has given Jim good moments. Travis Knight coming in, sticking a couple of foul shots, but more important is the bumping of Constantine Popa. He's had to work for everything tonight.
And Popa, even though he's not in foul trouble, has been on the bench for quite a while.
Well, you got a body leaning on you all the time, John. It wears you down. He's going to need a blow every so often. He's been out more tonight than I've seen him in the past 3 or 4 games.
Anthony Lawrence, who started his collegiate career at Alabama and went to St. Pete JUCO and finally to Miami. 44-22 as we approach the 2-minute mark. Along with Dom Perno, I'm John Sanders. Great to have you with us on Big East basketball tonight.
Connecticut doing an excellent job of moving their offense and the extra pass. And once again, John, they're going right at Constantine Pope. That time, Hayward, all he had to do was turn and dump it in for an easy layup.
They have shared the wealth. 10 different UConn Huskies have scored so far in the first half, and this foul is going to be on Popa as he battles Hayward.
Well, what's happening now, a body's being leaned down Popa all the time. He's getting frustrated. You see Michael Gardner talking to him. Once you get your name in lights, you're a marked man, and he is tonight. And of course, Len Hamilton grinning at it because there's been so much banging. What do you call? What don't you call? Not easy.
Leonard hasn't said a word. Hayward goes to the line. We're in the bonus now.
Get up, get up, get up, get up!
Rattles out. Johnson tries to follow and can't. The constant pressure defensively has really destroyed any continuity for Miami.
No room outside for the three at all. They're right up on them. They're defending their 2 strengths as well as any team the Big East has this year. They're extending on the 3-point shot and banging down low on the big guys.
That's a tough combination. Nobody else has been able to really muster that like the Huskies tonight.
Well, I think what's happened also, John, that everyone's kind of downing Miami a little bit. Well, they can't be as good as they're displaying, and maybe you don't give them the respect. When they came in tonight, Connecticut gave them all the respect that they earned, and they're going right at them.
You got that right. At halftime, we'll have our weekly Saturday Hoops Reel, the Big East halftime report, and we'll check some stats and highlights from the first 20 minutes of this one, and you will see a lot of white jerseys in those highlights.
It's been all Connecticut for this half.
No luck at all. The only guy who's been able to make foul shots is Michael Gardner, who's 4 of 5. On the Ford scoreboard, you can see St. John's with a 13-point lead now at half over Boston College. The Eagles trying to bounce back from the loss at Miami, and so far no luck.
And St. John's playing very well. Stingy D, and they execute and taking full advantage of all of their people.
They are definitely playing as a team, Dom.
People coming off the bench like Minlin, Luke, Doing a good job.
It'll be Miami basketball after all of that is over. The scramble right in front of the Miami bench.
Well, Connecticut's relentless man-to-man full-court defense, 94 feet of it, has not stopped for a second. It's paid big dividends for them.
Hayward comes out as Willingham is back on for the Huskies. 46-23. It has been all Connecticut in the final 40 seconds of the opening half.
Well, Connecticut has done very well, John. They're extending the D, but they're packing the middle tight. People away on the weak side are falling into the lane, so you can't penetrate the middle, and that's what Miami likes to do.
Little runner by Burton, bending in.
Well, that's one of the, they had a couple of shots that where they got in, Miami got in deep, but otherwise it's been Connecticut's D.
Rebound to Gardner. The Danielle Marshall miss, and he tries to push it up. Miami will run, but I still think they're a lot more comfortable when they can get into their half-court set.
They like to run a three-man weave, pushing the guards to the middle of the floor, dumping it down low to Popa if they can.
Burton frees Gardner for three at the horn, and that's the first half. A first half that has been dominated by the Huskies of Connecticut. 46.
A1 Toyota has her just
score. Donnie Marshall looking inside for Danielle Marshall. Takes it down the lane and draws the foul. The foul is on Morton, and they're going to give him 2 shots, I think. Jake picks up his 3rd foul. He goes back for a quick chat with Hamilton, and Donnie Marshall will go to the line.
Donnie's not going to get you a bundle of points every night, although he had 16 against Villanova, but what he's going to do, he plays with his motor going all the time, John, and that's become contagious, in particular against Villanova and obviously this evening.
The first foul shot nestles in the net. He's another one who's traveled a good distance to play for Jim Calhoun. Donnie Marshall from Federal Way, Washington.
You got 33.
Look at their roster. It looks like a map of the United States.
They're from all over, that's for sure. But I'll tell you tonight, they're putting it all together. Every state is contributing.
Lawrence tries to put it inside to the other Lawrence. It's out of bounds. Touched last by Lorenzo Pearson, out of bounds.
How quickly Connecticut's defense is reacting tonight. Something they obviously did not do in the first game down in Miami.
They're certainly playing with more intensity than when they went through their midseason lull, losing 7 of 11. Burrell dances inside, tries to find Danielle Marshall. Michael Gardner starts back for Miami on the wing. Trevor Burton. Here's Pearson with a little jump from the left hand. Tries to follow. It won't go.
Connecticut has numbers here. Nice look.
Marshall with a stuff on a good feed by Ollie.
Danielle slapped Kevin Ollie's hand because he's the guy that gave you that ball.
50-28. The lead is 22. It's been as many as 24. Late in the first half, it was 46-22. Right now, it's 50-28. Gardner gets to the baseline, goes behind his back.
Miami can't get anything easy. They're trying to run that little three-man weave, utilizing the guard. Here's a screen up high. They're just not getting anything easy out of their offense tonight.
Burton stepping toward the basket.
That's a heck of a move, but once again, there was a defensive man there. He had to step by him and make a tough shot.
Rudy Johnson outside. Donnie Marshall to Danielle. This is a 3. Good. First of the night for Danielle Marshall, who shoots them at 37% for the year. He's not afraid to step outside.
Not at all. Right now, they've got all the motors going in the right direction. Danielle.
And some frustration at the other end as Anthony Lawrence picks up the foul. He'll go to the bench. Morton to the bench. Popa comes back on along with Pat Lawrence.
Well, of course, this happens. Miami has been playing so well, and now they've gone down considerably. 23. Frustration can set in. Easy to happen.
It's almost like the Huskies said, welcome to a new level of Big East basketball.
Well, they came up, went through that storm, and it hasn't let up yet.
Well, they got hung up in Tampa because of weather yesterday, trying to make the trip here. Donnie Marshall. A little bit short with that one. Miami scoops up the loose ball. Here comes Edwards on the run. The basket does not go, and he's fouled on the play.
Well, that was one of the few times that Miami had some decent numbers getting up the floor, and that time Stevie Edwards, great freshman for Miami, took it to the hole, was fouled, but nothing easy, John.
He is headed for the all-rookie Big East team. He leads the Big East in almost every freshman category.
Oh, he is a great player, and you take a look at some of his stats: 16-9, 4.5 is his steals, 3-point field goal. He's doing it all, but tonight they're all struggling.
1 out of 2 for Steve Edwards from the line. 6 points in the game for the freshman from Miami Senior High School. The difference now is 22, 53-31. 16:40 to play in the game. Danielle Marshall has it knocked away.
Nice idea, however, the pass should have been a bounce pass. Danielle had good positioning.
Burton on the wing, but Burrell immediately jumps out. See how quickly they cut out every three-point opportunity.
That was a great example, because as soon as Burton got the ball, Scott Burrell right on him. No chance of him getting an open three-pointer.
Foul inside on Donnie Marshall. Number 2 on Donnie.
But that's going right along with the game plan for Connecticut. When Popa comes high, bump him. And they've been doing it all night. It's taken its toll. He has not had it. He's had a couple of easy hoops early when someone switched, but other than that, it's been a battle.
Edwards, 3. Short and over the backboard, out of bounds. This is a Miami team that leads the Big East in three-pointers per game. They have 1 tonight.
Exactly, and credit the defense of Connecticut, because as soon as the ball goes into that area, they're right on you.
Here's Donnie Marshall, strong from the side. Danielle Marshall reaches over. Looked like he got a piece of it. They're going to call it off Pat Lawrence. That'll mean it'll be UConn basketball when we come back. 15:54 to play, and the Huskies in front by plenty. 31, and some very stingy, strong defense tonight from the Huskies.
Well, the Connecticut coaches said whenever a Miami player got into three-point area, someone's going to be on him. Take a look at Scott Burrell with the quick hands and right on Trevor Burton, giving him no room at all.
Scotty Burrell has a chance to make some NCAA history before his career is over this year. Danielle Marshall from the corner rims it off, and Edwards the rebound. He could become the first player ever to score over 1,000 points, over 700 rebounds, over 300 steals, and over 250 assists. Pat Lawrence misses point blank. Popa does not.
One of the few easy opportunities for Constantine Popa inside. Second chance.
9 points so far for Popa, who will be 22 years old next week. Foul on Pat Lawrence. He went back to his native country of Romania and got married over the summertime. His wife is still there. He says he will bring her to this country when he can support her. Well, that won't be too long, I don't think.
I don't think so either, because the way he's been progressing from his freshman to sophomore year has been remarkable. And you know, Jimmy Boeheim, after playing them, says he's the most improved player in the league.
Johnson's first chance at the line. He's had only 3 out of 7 so far this year.
Well, Rudy has started his second game in succession. Started against Villanova. Connecticut got out of the blocks very well. Jim Calhoun came back with him tonight. And once again, they start. I think he's going to stay with the starting lineup for a while.
Well, Johnson, who sat out last year with some injury problems, but terrific athletes Jim Calhoun has recruited. Popa can't handle the rebound, and Marshall puts it back.
That time, a little body by Donnie Marshall. Pushed Popa underneath, got the rebound, put it back up.
Biggest lead of the second half for Miami. They're out by 23. Edwards tried to go to Morton, could not. It's 3-on-1. Burrell with Marshall. Donnie Marshall in double figures with 10. 3 players in double figures now for UConn. Biggest lead of the night.
Connecticut, John, had the numbers that time, but Burrell with a little look away, and Donnie Marshall finishes it off. Their defense is pumped up right now.
Here comes Edwards. Popa has it blocked. Burrell got a piece of that, and Burrell had reacted to some reported comments that had been made earlier before this ball game by Edwards.
Well, here's Connecticut, and the great give back to Donnie Marshall, who finishes it off, but the extra pass by UConn has paid big dividends tonight.
5-0 run. Marshall picks up foul number 3, all here in the second half. He's going to get a rest as Travis Knight, who had played well in his few minutes in the first half, comes back.
Certainly did, and you see Donnie Marshall going out to a great hand, and he deserves it. Very active, played Constantine very well down low.
Well, Coach Jim Calhoun continues to hopscotch the country looking for players. He has signed Kirkland King from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Morton nets a 3. Jake Morton with his first 3-pointer of the night.
Well, that's the way Miami can come back, but the deficit is so large, it's going to be tough, and Connecticut's not going to give them too many open threes.
Another of the signees is Ray Allen. He's 6'4" from South Carolina.
And he's supposed to be a great one, John. He's having a great senior season for them.
Burrell in the lane, won't go. Marshall gets it back, fires it up off the glass and in. What a shot by Donyell Marshall.
Second and third efforts all night, and that's told the tale of this game.
There's one other recruit that they're looking at, Ruslan Inyatkin from West Hartford, Connecticut. As Popa steps in against Knight, he is fouled. That'll be the 4th foul on Travis Knight. The only question with Inyatkin is whether or not he's going to come to UConn or go to prep school.
Well, he's having a very fine career, young to the game. Although averaging a great deal, he got 47 one night, so he knows what to do with the basketball.
Morton thought about the 3, but Willingham was right on top of it. Popa loses it along the baseline. Edwards uses his body, can't get the basket, gets it back. Scramble along the baseline. Still they scramble. And Popa winds up with it. Edwards for 3. Air ball, and Donyell Marshall leads the charge. Followed by Burrell. 14 for Scott Burrell.
Connecticut beating Miami down the floor. Burrell with a great second effort.
A 26-point lead, and they are all over Constantine Popa. Morton is called for the foul. Jake picks up his 4th foul. 13:02 left. The Huskies are really rolling.
Well, the defense, see Len Hamilton hasn't had much to smile about tonight, but here's the pass inside, and take a look at the double team. They're all over Popa. Willingham comes up with the ball, and they're on the move after that.
This Miami team will continue its road trip at Providence on Tuesday night as Donnie Marshall hits again. That's a dozen for Donnie Marshall. They'll take the bus to Providence tomorrow. Then they go back home to work on St. John's and Seton Hall. Outside is good by Gardner. Gardner has 8. Foul is on Gardner.
Well, Miami has had a lot of problems on the road, and going to Providence could be a tough situation also for Len Hamilton's squad.
That's the 5th team foul.
64-38, 12.5 minutes left here at Gampo Pavilion, and it has been all UConn. We had an early 2-2 tie, but since then the Huskies have really not looked back. Burrell, no, a little short this time. Donnie Marshall pushed off. That's 4 on Donnie Marshall.
Well, Donnie's really pumped up, and that time a little too aggressive.
Might have done it earlier against Popa. This time he got caught.
He got caught. The time when he went over Popa for the layup definitely gave him a little nudge. This time a little further on the key, and he got caught.
Rudy Johnson checks back in for the Huskies.
Johnson replacing Donnie Marshall.
Connecticut's defense still relentless, picking up full. Nothing is going to be easy for Miami tonight.
You know, they have used this aggressive defense to really key their offense. Of course, the second straight terrific shooting night for the Huskies, who were 55%. Lorenzo Pearson fouled inside by Willingham. They were 55% in that win over Villanova.
Well, and talking to Glenn Miller, he predicated a great deal of that better shooting to their aggressive D. They got some easier shots. Their break is going, and their defense is obviously a large part of their game.
And Providence at home in the Civic Center, leading Georgetown by 14. The Hoya struggle continues.
And Providence beat Georgetown at Georgetown a week ago.
Second straight year they've been able to do that. What about the big one tonight? The battle at the top of the Big East standings. There it is. St. John's by a point. Plenty of time left there.
Well, Jimmy O'Brien's team has battled back. They're down 13.
Second one will not go. Cormier with a rebound.
Burrell with a great tip that time. Went over the rim.
Here comes Burrell. Kicks it into the corner. Fair for three. Too strong. Anthony Lawrence rips down the rebound.
Had a man down the floor, but Connecticut got back quickly and didn't give up the easy one.
Burton. Morton for three. Foul is going to be on Pearson. Lorenzo Pearson on the rebound effort will pick up number 2.
Miami foul number 52, Lorenzo.
It is 64-39. The Huskies have dominated this basketball game basically from start to finish. They're still in control with 11:46 remaining. We have more Big East basketball after this word from your local station. 25-point difference here in Gampel Pavilion with 11:46 remaining on the Ford scoreboard. It is Seton Hall bouncing back from that early deficit to lead the Wildcats by 10 with 11:17 remaining there. It'll be Huskies basketball.
Miami for the first time, John, extending their half-court D to full just to try to upset the Huskies, but they're on a run right now.
Scramble for the rebound.
Every loose ball has been Connecticut's tonight.
But Fair touched the sideline and turns it over. Miami will get it back, and the Pitt-Illinois final, that is a big, big win, and quite a night, an afternoon, I should say, for Chris McNeil, a career-high 30 points.
Well, he's been playing steady basketball, but a big 30, national TV, and that solidifies pick shot in that NCAA, I would say.
Burrell to Cormier. Down the lane comes Fair, and he's fouled by Anthony Lawrence.
Late whistle that time, but Joe Mingo caught the reach in on Miami, and Connecticut will go to the line again.
Anthony Lawrence picking up his third personal foul for UConn. They have a game at the Carrier Dome on Monday, so it's going to be a short day off, and the game at the Dome. And then on Tuesday, we've got Boston College at Pitt. That should be a very interesting game because Pitt, when they play at home in Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, can be very tough. Miami's got to get its act together at Providence College.
Exactly. Though there are some key matchups. Of course, Connecticut going up to the Dome, always a tough place to play, but they've got great momentum coming off of this week.
Come on, guys.
A look at a disappointed Miami bench. These young men still have not been able to come up with a victory on the road in the Big East. It's not easy to do for anybody.
It is, and road wins usually discern who's going to be #1 in the Big East Conference or at the top.
You are right. Keep in mind that they have reached 5 Big East victories in just their second season in conference play. It took Providence College 5 years to win that many in one season. It took Seton Hall 9 years to win as many as 5 Big East games in 1 year.
And John, also you look at this program, they have Steve Frazier from Queens sitting out, red shirt, medical red shirt, excellent backcourt player, another 7-footer, William Davis from Fork Union. So Leonard's got some key people to enter his program. They're not going to be down too long.
You are right. And they also have a fellow by the name of Steve Rich, who's 6'10", a transfer from Wake Forest, who is in school, is practicing, but is sitting out until next year. He'll be eligible second semester.
And he gives him that wide body with about 235, 240. Nice defensive steal by Popa.
Popa to Burton. Burton missed the shot. Rebound into the hands of Fair. The ball has simply bounced the Huskies' way. Cormier to Willingham.
3 Huskies down the floor that time. Any of them could have gotten that hoop.
66-42 at the 10-minute mark. Cormier picks up the foul. That is his second. A couple other signees for Miami. Jamal Johnson, 6'8". He's from Pensacola Junior College. And then they have Alex Frazier, another Frazier who will join the team next year. An outstanding player at Pace High School in Miami. He is also 6'8". So at 6'8", 6'10", those players will all be there next year. In addition, you mentioned Davis, who is 6'11". Dushanbe High has not played since suffering a stress fracture. He's another freshman with some outstanding credentials.
So they really have the nucleus of a fine basketball team. Of course, Len tonight, don't want to hear any of that, but he's certain the future, without a doubt, looks bright for Miami.
Gardner gets the foul shot, and he has made his last 7 at the line after missing number 1. 66-44. 22-point lead. Fair works the baseline, feeds underneath. Burrell had one crack at it, and now the Canes come back. They've got the numbers, 2-on-1. They're going to look for threes now. Burton gets it. That's his first of the night.
Well, you give Miami some daylight, and that time Burton had some. They'll drill it. That was one of the few times where Connecticut didn't have a man in the shooter's face.
Well, basically it was a 3-on-1.
But they had to get some advantage. He was going to give up a layup or a three-pointer, and they said, hey, we'll give up the three-pointer.
Layups will not help them at this point. The foul inside on Willingham, battling against Konstantin Popa. So Willingham with 4, Knight with 4, Marshall with 4. Those are the 3 guys who most of the night have had their bodies on Konstantin Popa.
And Jim wisely knew he had 15 fouls to utilize, and you see Providence extending their lead on Georgetown.
And that's a 3-point difference now between BC and St. John's.
2 pretty good foul shooting teams, BC and St. John's. That comes down to the wire.
BC, one of the best in the country. Popa with 9 tonight. He has had at least 20 in each of his last 4.
Substitution, Miami, Jake Morton.
Jake Morton checks in. Michael Gardner will sit.
And Lenny Hamilton still coaching his brains out on the sidelines, talking to his players, and he's going to utilize tonight. They'll grow from this tough atmosphere to be in, but there's always another Tuesday coming up in another game rather quickly in basketball, too.
They'll be playing at Providence College on Tuesday night. Marshall is back on with his 4 fouls. This is Kevin Ollie. Morton extending the defense. Time is not an ally to Miami right now.
Not at all, and Miami's defense is not biting the way it had been very early in this contest.
Very aggressive play, and of course, outstanding shooting. You shoot the ball at 55%, you're going to be tough to beat.
Good things usually happen when you shoot that well. And of course, everything else is falling into place. Their D has reached the level that Jim Callahan wants it to, and that precipitated the O.
And Konstantin Popa has picked up his 3rd personal foul. That'll put Daniel Marshall on the line. Marshall with 13 points so far tonight. This will be his first trip to the foul line.
Daniel, the leading scorer and rebounder, up in every Big East category. And of course tonight, 11 rebounds. He does that very quietly because all of the Huskies have made a strong contribution.
10 of them have scored. Daniel 3rd in the conference in scoring in conference play. He's also 5th in the league in field goal percentage. He is 3rd in the league in free throw percentage. He's now made 52 out of 61 at the foul line. He's number 5 in rebounds and number 3 in block shots.
Not bad.
Not bad.
He's got all the tools to be a great one here in Connecticut.
And they are very, very tough in this building. They are 23-5 coming into tonight here in Gampel Pavilion.
Well, you know what's helped Daniel a great deal is when Willingham can give him some minutes and Travis Knight. That pushes him out to a wing, and I think he's really strong when he faces the hoop.
Burton to Morton. Here's Popa. Starts his move into the lane. Goes to the right hand, bending off. Follow is good. Trevor Burton on the weak side sneaked in to pick up the basket. 11 for him. It's 68-50. They're inside 20. Here is Daniel Marshall. Jump hook, no good. Rebound Burton.
Miami making a little run here.
A little spurt by the Canes.
There's
Popa. Again, this time it goes.
Well, he utilized the left hand that time, and course, Connecticut had in front. They had someone in the rear, but got the second effort.
This time it'll be the Huskies taking a timeout. That is their first called so far. It's 68-52, 7:48 to play. UConn leads. Back after this word from your local Big East station. A year makes for Miami. Their indoctrination into the Big East continues, but they have made some big steps forward.
Big strides. 3-point field goals first, assists first, second in scoring. And they're right up there with all of them. And coming into tonight's game, they were really playing probably as well as anyone in the league. Tonight they run into a buzzsaw. Connecticut got it going early and caused them surprise. Here's a 1-2-1-1 zone trap from Miami.
A little run right now by the Canes. They have outscored UConn 10-2 in the last 3.5 minutes. They are getting killed on the boards. It's 40-26 Connecticut.
Well, Connecticut's going to obviously utilize the clock here. They got a good lead. They're going to take their time, the extra pass.
Still a long, long way to go as far as Miami is concerned. And as it happened last week, Donnie Marshall shoots and misses. Popa has the rebound. Syracuse scrambled and scrambled and scrambled, got within a point, Dom, but then couldn't take that next step.
Well, that's what's so difficult. They've been down so many. To get to the top of the mountain is tough enough. And here's a foul call on Popa, and that foul is all contributed to the bumping and banging that's been taking place all evening.
Number 4 on Popa, and you see the comparison between Donyell Marshall, who's been terrific tonight off the boards. Popa has been confined because he's always had 2 or 3 people either holding him, bumping him, or pulling him.
Tough to play when you got one man in front of you, one behind you, and one sneaking in from the weak side.
But he's going to see more and more of that, so the Miami Hurricanes are going to have to adjust to that. They worry about getting respect. Well, I think Connecticut's giving them more than respect tonight. They're giving them a lesson.
Well, they certainly are. When you get your name in lights, everyone reads about them, and now you're ready to be plucked. And, of course, Miami has been playing so well that, hey, Connecticut comes in and say, hey, we got to have a sound game plan, and they did. They came out pressing, and they came out attacking the strengths of Miami, and that being a 3-point shot and Popa inside.
And as Donnie Marshall goes to the bench, Hayward will take his spot. But for Donnie, a second straight big game. He had 16 against Villanova, 14 tonight.
Oh, big game. We talked about not only his numbers, but what he means to the team psychologically. He's such an enthusiastic young guy that he gets everybody involved.
Leonard Hamilton up and screaming as Pat Lawrence penetrates and draws a foul from Donyell Marshall. Screaming at the officials because of the pushing and the power moves that are being used on Popa. In the case this time, it was Eric Hayward who was doing the pushing.
Len can't believe it right here. He's saying they're getting banged and bumped, and of course that's been taken all night. You're not going to call it all evening, but I'll tell you what, Lenny Hamilton they've been down an awful lot, but he's been in this contest right from the opening quarter.
Pat Lawrence in the Big East this year has made 8 free throws in 28 attempts. He's not the guy you want at the line.
No, you don't. Where he's done his damage is off the boards. When he gets to the line, it's another story, but we all need something to work on, and Pat Lawrence is going to have to work on his foul shooting.
70-52. The Huskies with 6.5 to play, comfortably in front. But Jim Calhoun still working his sideline pretty well. Terrell starts a move, gets to the lane. His jumper's going to be a bit short, gets it back, then lost it. Burton has it for Miami. Now Michael Gardner, look inside to Popa. Here he comes with that big step, and he softly lays it in.
No one dropped in on him to help out, and he had daylight.
Michael Gardner will pick up the foul as he battles inside against Kevin Ollie. Number 12 against number 12.
Well, you see Len saying, oh, hook him. Just play good D with your feet. Keep them moving. Of course, Miami frustrated, obviously, tonight, but that time Pope, a nice hook shot into the middle. No one fell in on him. Weak side did not help, and he made a great running hook.
You mentioned it a while ago, Dom. It has been a team effort for Connecticut. The bench scoring 18 for the Huskies tonight, 5 for the Canes. Of course, the Canes not as deep as UConn. And the jawing continues now. Gardner having a conversation with Rich Sanfilippo, one of the officials. trying to decide who's supposed to be at the line. Should be Kevin Ollie, right?
Yeah, I believe it is, yeah. Yeah.
And that's who it will be.
And Kevin goes to the line, I guess.
In the middle of that picture, along the official scoreboard, you saw John Hahn, the sports information director for basketball at Miami. We certainly want to thank all of the sports information directors in the conference who do a terrific job of keeping us informed of the happenings.
Most accommodating. You see John right there. Whenever you go to Miami, you not only get the raise, but John Hahn's always there to help you out in any way he can.
Yeah, pick a golf course if you get there early enough.
The right course. Best caddies, the whole thing, but they are very accommodating. I agree with you, John. The SIDs all do an excellent job in supplying you with all the data that you need.
Edwards for three. This is Vanley. Burrell the rebound. Ollie's got Marshall in front. Here's Marshall. 17 for Danielle.
Well, you can see that coming, and you know Kevin Ollie was going to find Danielle, because if anyone excites this crowd, it's the slammer from the big guy, Danielle Marshall.
Here comes Burton weaving his way inside. Popa. See if he goes to the left. Yes. Constantine Popa now with 16 points.
And of course, you read the story, John, about him being left-handed at birth, and his mom and dad said, wait a minute.
Don't want any lefties.
No, it's a little strange when you're a lefty in Romania, so they worked on the right hand all the time. Yeah, Connecticut's just going to take their time. Miami has battled back. They've hung right in there the second half. They've made a run, but Connecticut too many answers.
On the way in, the foul was called. That'll put Burrell at the line. Foul is on Steve Edwards, number 3 on him.
21, Steve Edwards.
74-56. We approach 5 minutes left in the game. At halftime, it was 46-25. Miami has never led. The best they've been able to do is a 2-2 tie. 8 rebounds for Burrell, in addition to his 15 points now.
Well, Scott has had 3 or 4 big games. You see the St. John's 59-58, a barn burner. 3
minutes to go at Alumni Hall. 1 out of 2 for Burrell, but Danielle Marshall there with a rebound tonight. They'll reset. Pretty strong performance by Travis Knight.
He's done this ball game. He certainly has, John. He's done a nice job coming off the bench. He's battled Popa. And what he does extremely well, as Popa does, is find open people. Of course, they're above everybody, but they do have a nice feel from the game for the passing efforts.
Gardner got a hand in. Did not touch it, apparently. It touched last off Ollie. It'll be Miami ball. The Huskies don't like it. But he says, okay, we're up by 19.
That should be a little lenient there, but
just a little, Don.
Not going to give too much.
Just a little. Here comes Gardner on the way in. He is fouled.
Well, you can see what's happening now. Miami's starting to find some seams and gaps. Of course, only 4 minutes left in the game, but and when Connecticut had to do it defensively, they certainly did. They didn't give those early penetration moves or the little hook shots for Popa.
I think at this point it might be also a case of UConn kind of taking a little deep breath and stepping back a little bit.
Oh, they're smelling all the roses.
Gardner has made 7 straight at the line.
Michael Gardner, just a sophomore, one of the leading assist people in the Big East, and the experiences he's gaining are going to be invaluable, not only for the remainder of the season, but for next year when I'm sure Miami wants to make another step upward.
Here is Ollie. Less than 4.5 remaining. A couple of years back, one thing that UConn was definitely known for, in addition to great athletes, was a strong pressure defense. They love to trap you just inside midcourt. And they have applied the pressure to this young man tonight, Edwards, who picks up his 4th foul, but he has struggled offensively.
Well, they extended the D on him, so the 3-point opportunities that he's looked at have been, a couple have been air balls. He's really struggled, and you know, you take away a strength of a player and you make him start thinking he's just a freshman also. Of course, he's a good one. He'll be back, but he's having a tough night tonight, as many of the Hurricane players are having.
Marshall 1 point away from his season average now as he comes to the line. In addition to 17 points, he has a dozen rebounds.
And he's a great foul shooter, coming in shooting close to 86% from the foul line in the Big East Conference. Well, you can't say enough about him, John, because he does it quietly. He really maintains himself on the floor. He doesn't necessarily have the enthusiasm that Donnie Marshall has, but he is so consistent for the Huskies.
Well, at times last year, his enthusiasm got him in foul trouble.
So I guess he said, hey, I'm just going to quiet down,
well,
play the game, score 17 a night.
Of course, he had that great year last year in shot blocking. 76-58, less than 4 to play. Popa on night. Here's Burrell to the rescue.
And the Huskies obviously just nursing this 18-point lead, just contented with going to the foul line.
Threw that one away right into the hands of Edwards. Scott Burrell just might be in AAA next year.
He's got a pretty good arm. Great family, Scotty. His dad coached at Yale.
It's a 3-pointer for Edwards. His second 3-pointer, 9 in the game, 76-61. And Donyell Marshall with his 6th double-double in the books as Morton goes for the steal, not quite, out of bounds. We have a timeout with 3:19 to play, and the Huskies continue to dominate. Their lead is down a bit, but it's still 15.
And of course, Connecticut coming into the week, John, needed 2 big wins, one over Villanova, and obviously this evening to propel them going up to Syracuse on Monday night.
Brian Fair with his first basket in the second half. 8 points for him. The Huskies certainly haven't given up on their NCAA hopes, despite what others might think, as Gardner nails the 3. Good ball game for Michael Gardner. He's got 18 points tonight.
And Michael's played steady, and he's one of the sophomores that Lenny Hamilton's going to look to for the future.
Marshall to Marshall. Foul is called on Lawrence. That's the second on Pat Lawrence. Puts Donyell Marshall back at the line, where he has made 3 out of 4.
Where he's so tough, John, down low, is when he gets the ball low, he's got a variety of moves to go to. It's just not one set. He can pump, he can go to his right, he can utilize his left hand, and he's 6'9". That helps a little bit. With long, long arms.
On the Ford scoreboard, we've got an overtime game to talk about around the Big East tonight. Seton Hall is in overtime. That's the report that we are getting. There it is. Villanova and Seton Hall in overtime. All of a sudden, PJ's troops have a little problem.
Well, the past 7 or 8 games have been difficult for PJ's team. And, of course, you go to someone's home court, anything can happen. And it has this year in the Big East Conference.
This is Pat Lawrence to Jake Morton. 2:10 to play. Burton's 3. A little short. Lawrence keeps it alive, goes up with the left hand, and that's short. Burrell reels in the rebound.
Nice positioning, but Pat Lawrence could not finish it off, but Connecticut has another opportunity.
And even though the alley-oop pass missed, there was Brian Fair with his 10th point. Everything has gone right for UConn in the game. Edwards on a drive, and a timeout called. That'll be the last one for Miami. They take their final timeout with 1:44 to play. 81-66, the Huskies by 15. 66 with 1:44 to play. Well, we had the recap, and we bring it back. You can see Miami, all their 3-pointers coming in the second half, and Gardner has led a little bit of a mini surge, but with UConn shooting 50% Donyell Marshall, 18 points, 12 rebounds, and tremendous defense by the Huskies. It's just been too much.
And everyone contributing. The bench, big factor tonight.
Gardner will pick up the foul. Michael with his second. The 18-point game. Good totals for Michael. He had 21 last Saturday, a career high, and leading them to victory over Syracuse.
Oh, he's a nice point guard. He sees the floor, can shoot the three, and very aggressive on the defense. Only going to get better for Miami.
Ollie goes to the line. He is 2 out of 2 tonight. 4 points in the game for the sophomore from Crenshaw High School in Los Angeles.
Come on, Kevin. More.
John, you talked about earlier the battle for the point guard spot between Cormier and Ollie. Ollie certainly has solidified his position and time. He's really running the club well. And of course, putting that pressure Dion is right up his alley because he's very quick. He loves to push the ball at people.
Popa with the follow tip. Constantine Popa now trying to keep that Big East 20-point average rolling as the foul is again called on Gardner. And they will put Fair on the line this time.
Well, you talk to Popa and he'll tell you he likes the fanfare of knowing he's becoming a better player. When no one's talking about you, you're in trouble usually. But they were buzzing in Connecticut about how he has been playing the past 4 or 5 Big East games. And when he came up to the pavilion, they mentioned him immediately that they had to do something special to curtail his output, and they have. And they've done it by banging him all night with 2 or 3 different people.
Well, I think Popa is going to draw more and more attention, not just from the fans in the other Big East cities, but obviously from the other Big East teams. To the night at the line for Fair, he was 1 for 6. 82-68. And Donyell Marshall wins the battle of the rebound against Constantine Popa.
He racks him up, and he's got, what, 14 now? Another double-double for Donyell.
Deflected into backcourt. We have just over a minute left. The Huskies will go to 11-8. The Canes will slip to 8-12. Big East numbers, Miami will be 5-7. UConn will be 6-6. And definitely in the picture as far as the Big East Conference is concerned.
Well, definitely, because St. John's going in tonight's game, they were 8-3. Now, depending what happens with the BC game, you got 6 wins. You move up a couple, 3 notches. You wouldn't know there's only 54 seconds left in the game. And Jimmy's up 15. Coaching right down to the wire. And his very able staff looking on. Howie Dickham and Dave Lato and Glenn Miller, who was very gracious before the game, to talk about the game plan they were going to utilize, and they did utilize it.
Well, you can talk about it, but I don't think you can execute it any better than the Huskies have tonight.
Well, you mentioned this earlier, John. We've both seen Connecticut play a number of times. This is, without a doubt, their best game of the year. And, of course, they needed it. Big week for them. Yeah, Miami comes in with their motors going, and Connecticut has to find some way to put it out. So
they have done that as the coach's son, Jeff Calhoun, checks into the lineup.
Jeff, of course, you see the brace on Jeff Calhoun's knee. Sat out last year, and that hand was for Donyell Marshall. He had a great game once again, but you get kind of used to that. He's done it most nights.
Well, Scott Burrell now with 16. Donyell Marshall 19. Donnie Marshall had a big game, 14. Brian Fair with 14. Cormier comes in, replaces Burrell. So the starters get a break as Knight is on. Also in is Oliver Macklin.
Well, you see the smiles. Nothing like winning, nothing like playing hard and playing well and doing the things you work and practice every night.
Constantine Popa goes to the hole, and he keeps the string alive. Popa now with a 20-point game, his 5th in a row in the Big East. The The final is in. St. John's has defeated BC 65-61. So the Redmen continue to roll. Hayward gets the basket, his second of the night. Congratulations to St. John's. Gardner gives it up to Burton, who is fouled.
Now Brian Mahoney certainly got to have his eyes on Coach of the Year in the Big East Conference.
I think he might have it in his back pocket.
At this point, certainly 9-3.
All right, here we go. 2 shots, guys.
The foul was called on Eric Hayward. They said 42, but 42 is headed to the dressing room. He's not on the court anymore, so it's got to be 45, right?
That's it.
6.2 to play. An impressive performance tonight by the Huskies.
Well, the Huskies did a great job, and you see 65-61 St. John's W. Big win for them. And another big win for Providence, coming off a very tough loss to St. John's, and to catch Georgetown once again.
The Friars had a horrible game as Calhoun takes the final shot. Technically not the final shot. That was the final shot, an underhander by Gardner. 88-72 is the final. As you said, Dom, as good a performance by UConn and Jim Calhoun's team as we've seen in a long time.
Well, I have to be pleased because all the pieces came together tonight.
The victory goes to the Huskies of UConn. Along with Dom Perno, I'm John Sanders. Again, our final tonight is UConn 88, Miami 72. Thanks for being with us. Be careful if you're driving. It's a little slick outside. The preceding has been a Big East Conference Television Network production.